Africa is currently raising its largest generation. How this generation is raised can either promote economic progress or portend disaster. The region's leaders must strengthen and coordinate the national institutions that raise, educate, empower, and employ the youths. They must give this generation all necessary tools to help Africa make a major leap forward.
PICHNET is the acronym stands for Projet d'Investissement en Capital Humain. The strategy is to manifold the different components on this strategy. The first idea is to take advantage of the fact that we have this very large generation of youth to work with. And so if you make something really outstanding with this large group, it's going to have multiplier effect in the total economy and in the prospect for economic growth in the region. And so we try to focus strategically on youth who are just now leaving school, and they are at a time where they're making crucial decisions about their life, decisions about where to live, what job to take, how to build their families, when to build their families, how many kids to have, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these decisions are going to be strategically important for their lives. You make a wrong turn here, then it's going to be hard to recover. If you have a kid who decides to immigrate illegally, for instance, that sets you on a path that it's not easy to turn back or to adapt. You have to invest 5-10 years of your life and see how it comes, what comes out. If you are successful, then it's great. If you made the wrong choice, then it's going to be very hard to recover. As a teen mother, if you decide to have 2 kids before you are 20, it's really a trajectory that you're already building for yourself. It could be fine if you are, if this is going to be in the context of a good marriage, but if it's not, it's going to be really hard to recover from this and to have sort of a normal career or have a normal family life. So this is a really crucial turning point, family-wise, work-wise, and self-awareness-wise. And so we focus on that time because it's strategically important.
These youths, on their part, are determined to go further in breaking down barriers of inequality, unemployment, and juvenile delinquency. We are a non-governmental organization, and so we have the flexibility to innovate at the margins. And since we are relatively small, we can afford to fail and correct. But the advantage that we have is also that we are in contact with these larger actors, and to the extent that we can identify best practices, we can share them with these big actors who can now implement them on a larger scale. And so the hope is that as we get the lessons, we are going to be in constant communication with national governments, with UN agencies that can take the message forward and implement some of these programs on a larger scale. Barriers of inequality, unemployment, and juvenile delinquency. Interns of PICHNET, a non-governmental organization that focuses on the nation's youth bulge, these youngsters are the anchors of a transforming demography. PICHNET's mission is to transform Africa's largest generation into its greatest
Sustainable Development Goals, where we had teams of youth compete in proposing solutions for different Sustainable Development Goals. We had an effort to document, using our research, the violence among youth through the entire society, in the community, in the neighborhood, and so forth. We have a project to teach youth how to develop a small business. And so we have a few incubators that are now in place. And so how do you start a small haircut salon, barbershop? How do you start a small cafeteria, a small cafe, and so forth? So we give them space and some startup funds that they're going to try to manage and get something going, and we support them. And it's really on a very small scale, but in the process, they really learn the basics of managing people, creating budgets, thinking about long-term planning, drawing the clientele, advertising, and all that stuff. And so this is in preparation now. We have 6 incubators, and they are now working on their plans. And then this summer, they're going to actually roll them out, and then we'll see how they do.
PICHNET is a program to test, apply, and share best practices for supporting the transition of African youth into adulthood. It is a commendable initiative which requires significant financial support.
The lessons are relevant to Cameroon and the demographic dividend. I've worked on the demographic dividend, the SWED program, which covers a number of countries, mostly in West Africa, but also in Central Africa. And the idea is to take advantage of this large generation that is coming through. And so the lessons learned there are going to be shared with other partners in the SWED project. And so I really look forward to having a discussion here. And we've been working closely with the United Nations Fund, Population Fund, which is overseeing this program. And so the direct relevance is for African countries that are working on their demographic dividend, but there are broader lessons for the global youth, which is facing problems that are similar, problems to come into a labor market that's less certain than it was 50 years ago. I think it's going to be, employment is going to become more flexible. And so how do you deal with this work environment?
Despite the coronavirus pandemic, the organization still found a way in preparing Cameroonian youths for official examinations.
When the COVID pandemic hit, we were able to just adjust and devote some resources and collaborate with a few other actors to design programs and material that youth could use. Other institutions could have done it, but it takes a lot of time and consultation and reaction, and they may not have had the resources that we had. I think PICHNET had the advantage of being connected to the world of academia, and we could learn from the institutions that had begun to adopt some of these responses for themselves, including Cornell. And so we built on the lessons from Cornell about remote teaching, and we try to share these lessons with the Ministry of Education in Cameroon, and they were, to their credit, extremely responsive. They mobilized some of their personnel, and they mobilized, there was also mobilization of the region's senators, and so that made the effort quite.
Their efforts in empowering youths have not been in vain.
I think the logo captures the spirit of that generation. And to that end, I'm not surprised to see what we see today. And so, namely, the fact that you just have a lot of really engaged young people who are interested in improving their own lives, but also the lives of their communities and their countries moving forward. And so, while at the time, I don't think we knew exactly where this whole project was going to head, the fact that you had that particular population to work with, to collaborate with, to get insights from, it doesn't surprise me that we've been so successful, because there's just so much dynamism and energy and desire among that population to really engage in any opportunities that they're afforded to solve problems for themselves and for their communities.
To achieve or realize what you want to realize, or achieve what you want to achieve, you must have a plan. The plan gives you a direction. The plan gives you a goal. A plan gives you tools. But the most important is what role they will play inside the plan. Because you can have a beautiful plan without your engagement, without the integrity, without the volunteer to reach your goal, you will not reach your goal. And they are capable to reach their goal. They are capable to do what they want, if they want to do it. And that is why PICHNET brings them different tools, different insights. And we say we need the life is for people who want to achieve something big.
To develop a country, one needs to build its culture, its institutions, and its people.
I think PICHNET is really unique in its holistic take on individuals and the communities that they're embedded within. So I think if you think about development projects in general, they tend to emphasize one aspect of a person's life. So you might have a reproductive health program that's going to encourage you to use a particular type of family planning technology. Or then you might go to a training program to get some computer skills. Or maybe you go to a community center to volunteer with some elderly people, right? I think what we do is we try to kind of instead of taking these sort of siloed approaches to improving people's lives, we try to think about the multiplicity of ways that people can plan and can move forward in their lives. And we try to provide training along all of those aspects, along all those different capitals, right? So to recognize that for some people, they want to maybe focus more on their human capital development personally, but they also are going to have an eye to thinking about the families that they're going to kind of be forming at that time. And so to separate out that type of training, to not recognize that these are all decisions that are at play for these young adults at the same time, isn't, I don't think, particularly effective. I think the way that we're uniquely effective is that we're able to give these young people the space to think through all these different aspects of their lives and to develop all these different types of capitals that are going to help move them forward in this next big transition that they're undertaking. So yeah, we've worked with a lot of different actors to try to develop new and innovative programming in this area. And I think, again, the diversity of actors that we work with reflects the fact that we recognize that young people need training and support in multiple arenas. And so while it may seem initially strange for a project to be bringing in somebody who's an expert in, computer science, and then somebody who has trained as an Olympic weightlifter under the same project, it really starts to make sense when you think about the fact that kids are thinking both about their professional lives, what they want to do in the future, what kind of skills they want to build, maybe in computer science, moving forward. But they're also thinking about their own health and their personal lives and making sure that their bodies are healthy to live the type of lives that they want.
It has considered this reality. It continues to complement local institutions in building youths from the inside out. It starts with personal character and aspirations, then it extends to family life, professional life, and then community contributions. PICHNET has built specific activities at each of these 4 levels.